Now I'll talk about social media and critical discourse analysis. As we all know, social media is fastly becoming an important platform for social interaction and also for creating some kind of social and communicative dialogue. Through social media, most of the information is now spread in no time, very quickly as compared to traditional media or other forms of interaction in the past. Now it is becoming an important site of interaction and information sharing. Therefore, it becomes an important avenue for analysis through the paradigm of critical discourse analysis also. But before we get into this debate of analyzing social media content through the eyes of critical discourse analysis, we need to understand briefly how social media discourse is important for interaction and what kind of paradigm it embodies and how this could possibly be an important avenue for analysis through the paradigm of critical discourse analysis. Uh, in order to understand the nature of social media discourse, we need to understand that as Khosravi Nick would say, that the nature and nature, location, and other aspects of social media interaction and discourse, and the discursive power it generates is not static as compared with the traditional communication channels, where you would write a letter and you would wait for at least hours or days to find its response. Now it's very quick, fluid, dynamic. So and also more responsive because there is more opportunities to respond quickly to such interactions. And in some ways, this may be more engaging also and also more time consuming. So the communication channels which rely on social media platforms are more interactive and fluid. Social media, broadly speaking, refers to the use of web or mobile technologies for the sake of communication, exchange, or interaction. Social media communicative affordance provide some kind of a kind of combination of not only interpersonal communication, which we find between one user and another user, or a user or some institution. Let's say a user might be interacting with the editor of a newspaper, etc. So it could be a person and institutional interaction, or could be a person to person, which is the most common form of interaction on social media. And it also involves some kind of mass communication also, where many people are interacting with many other people simultaneously. So this could be seen as some kind of intersection of mass and interpersonal communication. Social media, therefore, social media communication is viewed as electronically mediated communication across any platform, spaces, sites, and technologies in which users usually work together in producing and compiling content. In this kind of communication, the user are not only reading the content which is already available on sites, but they are also producing their own content. They are adding to the content available, and they are getting responses to the content they are producing. So it's a kind of interactive production of the content. Then they perform interpersonal communication and mass communication simultaneously or separately, maybe. Most of the time, this is simultaneous, as we see various sites of or platform of mass media communication. And another important feature of social media communication is that in social media communication, people can see and respond to institutionally and user-generated content and text. They not only respond to each other, but they can also respond to various materials available on web, which has been placed there by certain institutions. For example, newspapers, various commercial websites. So maybe a website dealing with the selling or purchasing of land or cars. So people can write their messages to respond to the promotion packages which has been placed on the websites. So therefore, this can be interactive both in institutional and personal way. Social network sites, popular websites which might remind you what social media is, include Facebook, Twitter, uh, and there are the sites on which you can probably make your groups. For example, we have WhatsApp, Telegram, and then there are other apps also. The essence of social media, therefore, is and their focus on facilitating some kind of participation or participatory communication in which people are encouraged to participate with their own interest. The new communication, which is produced or made or maintained by social media protocols, they breaks away from the traditional, a clear-cut separation between producers and consumers, in which there was a message produced by a certain person, and they were the users or consumers of that text who would have barely have a chance to respond to it in most of general public communications. But here in social media interactions, people can readily answer to various information or communication which is available on these sites. So this can be called at many to many dynamic dynamic and fluid discursive practice on which this all social media interaction is based on. In order to maintain discursive power in social media discourse, most of the content usually has been placed by a new form of participatory communication, which generally is called, as I've been explaining, social media communication, and it's more participatory in nature as compared to the traditional forms of communication. For example, this has been resulted in some kind of reconnection of youth in the West with their indigenous politics. It has been complained by various corners that youth is disassociating itself with the politics, and they're no more interested in their indigenous issues. But with the rise of social media and its communication channels, its platforms, sites, it has been observed that youth in the West is becoming more participatory in politics and the debates about it. This creates some kind of social media critical discourse studies, because when people would generate a discourse in which there would be some kind of power relations negotiated or power dynamics would be discussed, this can somehow be a chance for people to be analyzed from a critical discourse perspective.